Hey everyone, I'm Rena, and this is our first meeting for the Old Soul Highly Sensitive and Empath group that I wanted to pull together because I know there have been so many questions about certain things, and there's a lot of different varieties of people in here, and some are brand new, and some have been on their healing journey for a long time. And I just wanted to bring everyone together and just have a conversation with me to see what's going on, because I can talk about all my stuff. I can talk about all my, traumas and all that stuff, and I can share information based off of that. But if I don't know what other people need, then I can't do much about that. So that's why I wanted to start this meeting, or whatever this is going to end up being, in order to rectify that problem or situation. And obviously this is my first one, so I'm still figuring it all out myself, just like we all are on this earth. And that's pretty much it for that. I'd like to also introduce to you Dora. Do you want to say anything about who you are, or do you want me to do that?
Oh, you can go ahead.
I can do that? Okay, so
Yeah.
Dora and I have been working together really pretty much the whole time this has been going on, and she's out in California, so she's my little California girl, Cali girl, and I'm excited that and very grateful that she's been helping me all along this time, and she's like been supportive and uplifting and helpful and everything, so I can do what I feel like I'm supposed to do on this planet and with this group because of you. So thank you, Dora. And Carrie, I had just a second ago, I had asked you to just go ahead and introduce, if you want to do a short introduction, like I just did with Dora and myself, something like that. Just say where you're calling in from, and
Okay.
and what drew you to the group, I guess, is probably the best question to ask. Yeah.
Um, well, like me being here in this meeting, your group popped up on my Facebook news feed, and I was like, and it was like God was like, join this group, and I was like, okay, but I don't know because I'm kind of wary about things like this, and so I've been part of the group for about a month. I've found great help, great connection with various people. um, it helps me to work out my own things that are going on. I will say my name is Kari. I
Sorry.
always tell
Okay.
I tell people
Thank
it's
you.
sorry Kari, not Mary
Okay.
Carey.
Okay.
For many reasons. I know people speak of their traumas that they've gone through, and I have my share of very awful ones, but God has shown me a way through them, and I still want to help people, although people overwhelm me.
Totally
and
get it.
Yeah, and I'm just now realizing that so many of the things that I felt all my life are not really my own.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so liberating to be able to say, God, thank you that they're not mine, and I'm just a freaking sponge. And I know you're going to tell me why I'm a sponge, and what I'm supposed to do with it.
Well, hold on to
um
that question, because I can get a little more specific with it
okay.
after I go through some of the stuff that and you said you're from Virginia, which I thought that was kind of cool because I grew up in Virginia. Like we
Yeah.
had talked before, Kari. I grew up my name was Carrie when I grew up, and that was
Oh,
trauma in and of itself, from the movie for me. But yeah, that's why I called you that, because I was like, oh, she's got the same name I did.
that that is what that's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
wild. Why?
yeah. Let's see. I'm still
Can I
working on how
can I
to.
say my short little thing that I was going to tell you before
Oh yeah,
you?
yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
okay. At the beginning of this year, I have a group of, I think it's 7 ladies that I consider my kindred spirits that I've met throughout my life over the last 30, 40 years. At the beginning of the year, I was standing in my kitchen one morning, doing my daily God dialogue. And it was as if God was saying, you're supposed to gather these women together and you all are supposed to do something. And I'm like, well, one lives in Washington State, one in Alabama, one in Arizona. And it's like, where are we supposed to meet? And he never would tell me any further details. He just said there'll be a meeting of mostly women. There is one guy in my Facebook friends who's a really cool male empath, but I've never met him. But it was like I keep asking, it's like, well, God, if I'm supposed to do this on my meager resources, tell me where I'm supposed to meet and let me invite these women. And it turned out that here I am, a group of mostly women that I've never met, and I'm in a meeting. And it's like, I don't know, it's like this was the answer, and it was something so far off from what I expected it to be.
That's
And
usually
yet,
how it works. Yes.
and yet I think that's what it is.
Hmm. Well, interesting that you said that. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think that there's another Dora, I shared with Dora writing that I did years ago of, oh my gosh, why did I forget the name of it? Help me out, Dora.
The
The
mermaid.
mermaid. Yeah, it was called A Mermaid Story or something. I can't remember, but basically it's about women coming together, recognizing their truth, who they are, and stepping out into the world to do what they're meant to do on this planet. So,
Hmm.
I had written that about, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago initially, and then I rewrote it last year. So it's kind of interesting that you're saying that, because I had attempted myself to start women's groups and it didn't work when
Yeah.
I was going through my stuff. So that could be something. um Hold on, I'm making a note so I can share it. When I was going through my healing journey, nothing clicked until I released all of, and I'm going to get into that a little bit. So I'm going to answer a few questions, or a few people had typed in some questions. I'm going to answer those. I'll share a little bit of how I started, why this group even came together from my perspective, and maybe a little bit about, where I'm coming from, so you can have an idea. Because I don't know if you've seen any of the Facebook lives that I attempted to put, or any of the videos I attempted to put in the group, because sometimes nobody sees anything. Yeah, that's what
No,
I'm
I
afraid.
have not.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. So basically, oh, Dora, why don't you share what drew you to the group real quick, and why you're here and all that stuff too, so she at least Kari understands that we're kind of similar, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I've always known that I've been different. So actually, when I stumbled across your group, I was just like, wow, this is the place I need to be. So it was definitely, it drew me in. And I had looked another place prior, and it wasn't for me. So when I found you, it was kind of like, yeah, this is great. This is where I need to be. This is going to probably help me, and I'll have an understanding, and also be able to be connected to people that are like myself. So that's definitely what drew me in. And everybody seems friendly and nice and no judgments.
Yes, thank you. Okay. All right. So, basically what this is about is, I've been I've been doing my healing work for over 30 years. And in the last 8 years, when I moved down to Florida, it got more intense. So lots of dark nights of the soul, lots of coming in and out of understanding what I'm supposed to be doing, and then not being able to, like you were saying, you want to start this group for women, but for, like with me, I kept trying to start things and trying and trying and trying, and I'm using the word trying because nothing ever happened. And I didn't understand why, because I've been doing all this therapy for so long, and you know, I finally got to the point where the cognitive therapy wasn't working anymore for me. And I had found out that I was an empath in my 30s, and I did nothing with it. I just kind of did a little bit of research because I like to do it. And then I kind of moved on. And then, fast forward, I went through another dark night of the soul last year. And as I was digging out of that one, or while I was digging out of that one, I was driving for Uber because I was almost homeless, and I um, uh, really couldn't work because of I'm also a veteran. So some of the trauma from military sexual trauma, being a veteran, kind of messed me up and wanting to even be near anybody, plus the empath, plus the highly sensitive. It was all, I'm learning all this stuff. And so I'm driving for Uber, and I started at the end of 2022, and between 2022 and the beginning of 2024, I probably, out of 2,000 rides, I probably had over 400 people get in who were old souls, highly sensitive, and empaths. And I'm watching this, I'm like, what the heck? Same thing, God stuff. I'm watching this and I'm like, what the heck is going on here? What are you trying to tell me? All I kept hearing was, they're out there, they're waiting, start it, they're out there. And I'm like, no, 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 I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I can't do that. You know, that whole thing. And I'm like, I know I have to start it, but I was still going through my own stuff, you know? And so, and I still had some things to heal from and recognize how things work so I could actually hold the space for people. That's my thing, is about holding space for people and be able to feel stable enough where I don't like break down every time somebody starts crying, which I did used to do. And I could feel other people's stuff. I would start crying when they did. So that's not good, you know? So anyway, long story, long story, a little shorter. Sometime around January, I got the nudge to start the group. So I went into Facebook and I just put it in there and I let it sit there until May. And then in May, another nudge came in. I'm like, are you sure? And then it's like, start posting memes, start posting things, get these memes out there, you know, whatever. So I just start throwing them out there. You know, I don't know what's happening. By May 6th, I had 111 people in the group. I started with 2, or 3, me, and another friend of mine.
Okay.
And so between May 6th and the beginning of June, we had what, like 12,000 people show up. So it was obvious it was needed. This group was definitely needed, and clearly there needed to be a space where people could come and feel safe, because from my own experience with trauma, different levels of trauma, you know, whether it's past life or birth or childhood or, you know, military or whatever, all these different, I was involved with parental alienation, went through all this stuff. And it's like, why I chose to come down here to experience the darkness, dive into the darkness, shine light on the darkness, and then create a space where people can do the same. And that's kind of how we got into this group. And it kept getting bigger, and then recently, from I had to hide the group again because I'm working on taking the next step. From that, it's like, one of the things that I believe too is my experience on my healing journey has shown me that when I understand how something works, and it doesn't work the same way for everybody, it still creates an environment for people to see that, oh, well, if she can do it, then I can do it. You know, that's part of it. And especially with our age group, you know, I mean, there's a lot of, especially women, and this may hopefully help you, you know, consider what you're going to do, but mainly women 50 and up. I've got a friend of mine who's 78, who is an empath and highly sensitive, and she's like, nobody in my age group understands me. I mean, it's even worse. The older you are, the harder it is, because they don't understand. This might be something that, you know, because I've talked about doing something with women of our age, so to speak. So maybe that's part of it. You know, I'm basically creating a space where I know that there are shifts on this planet happening. I feel it deeply. I know this is happening. I've realized that through my healing process, that it's not even, you know, how people are always going and trying to manifest and, you know, make things happen and do all this stuff. That doesn't even exist. Once you release that trauma and the darkness, it's automatically attracts. That's the law of attraction. And I'm like, oh, I've been reading about this for 20 years or whenever it started coming out, and I never felt it. I never understood it. And then one day, a few weeks ago, like, all these things just started coming to me. I'd think about it and they'd start coming to me, and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? But they weren't lying. Okay, that's what I can say about that. And so, but it's not possible if we're stuck in our trauma. And if the trauma stuck in the nervous system. Dora, looks like you want to add. Do you want to add something to that?
I'm not sure necessarily, like with trauma. I mean, everybody deals with that in their own way. So I mean, how do you fully know if you've passed that or not? When you start feeling whole, or what
Well, what do you
exactly?
mean everybody feels it in their own way first? Because there is a
Well,
way.
because I've been through a lot of trauma myself personally.
Mm-hmm.
But I still do great on a daily basis. So, and I'm connected to myself. So I'm not sure, was that something that just, I don't know.
I mean, everybody's different. It's just like,
Hmm.
you know, you can't have one size fits all in any kind of health stuff. You can't have one
Hmm.
size fits all with anything because we're individuals. We're here all on our own journeys, as one, as a part of the, you know, creator or source or whatever that looks like. We're like little bits of, you know, shining pieces of that. So, we all experience things differently. We all go through things differently. We all have a different makeup in our bodies. Some of us are more sensitive than others. Some of us are more resilient than others. Some of us are, you know, I mean, there's a lot of different things that could answer that question. But when I talk about the trauma piece of it, that's the same thing, depending on what those things are for you. And also, trauma is not what happened to you. Trauma is how the nervous system, it's like a loop. It's a piece of the process that doesn't ever close.
Okay.
So when it doesn't close, it leaves this stuck energy in you.
Mm.
And if that energy is stuck in that nervous system and you don't know how to release it, then you stay there, you stay stuck. And then that's the law of attraction too, because that energy that you're holding starts attracting all of these things happening in your life.
Okay.
So it's not the trauma itself that happened, it's how it works within the nervous system, the stress response as mammals, you know, how we are. And so when I started to clear the trauma out with like somatic work, what I did basically was I did the cognitive work, and then the cognitive helped me to understand what was going on. But then, you know, there were times where something would come up and I'm like, I'm watching myself and I'm freaking out. I'm going through, oh my God, you know, I'm going through this whole thing and my body's shaking, my stress response is coming up, and all these things start happening. And then I'm like, why are you doing that? I already know you're okay. I already know this is a safe space. What are you doing that for? Hey, Deborah. So, so we're working through like the beginnings of what happened with the why we started the group and you know all that kind of stuff. And I'm kind of explaining how trauma works. That it's not like what happened to you; it's how the nervous system never had closure. Basically, there's a gap there when after it happens, and if we don't do anything about it, we start attracting all the similar things into our lives basically. So basically what happens is that, you know, I saw myself getting all upset about things and freaking out, and I didn't know what to do about it until one day where, like I said, I'm watching myself freak out and I know from the cognitive therapy what was going on. And oh, the body's in charge. And I'm glad Deborah stepped in at this point because Deborah is studying to be a health coach. So yeah, so that's really cool that that's going on, because that's important, the what we eat, what we don't eat, you know, all these different things. But somatic, the bottom line is somatic healing is what helps to close that loop. So somatic healing can involve things like EMDR or shaking or temper tantrums. That's what I did. That was my favorite on my bed, that kind of thing. So being able to release that trauma is what helps to open the space for the energy to flow and for that attraction, for those things to come into your life. So does that make sense when I say that?
It does make sense. I think I'm just I don't know, different type of person. And
But that's happened. That was mine.
yeah, so for me, I guess because the way I believe once you go, you know, everybody has a journey and a path. And for whatever reason, it could be from, you know, before you were born, you were 2 years old. I mean, you were, you know, a teenager. I think everybody has a reason why they're here. And when their number's up and they're called, then they go. I mean, maybe that's why I've dealt with a lot of the trauma myself with, you know, losses in my life,
Right.
in a different way.
Yeah, and also too, keep in mind that it's part of your soul's growth anyway. So when you do move through your steps, your soul is growing, and when you're done, you're done. That it's time to go, basically. So kind of similar to what you're saying. That's how I see it. Apparently, I have a little more work to do. But anyway, yeah, I hope that answered your question. I mean, and again, we're all different, we're all on different journeys, so we're all going to experience it differently. We have similar feelings, we have similar emotions, everybody has the same emotions, different story. That's basically the bottom line. So how you experience those and how you release those and just how you get them out of your system is what's important, is for me, what I found is important to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I do believe that everybody has their own way of handling their own stuff,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, we can very similar. I mean, but yeah, we're all souls, that's for sure. But as far as how you act and react to things in your life and your circumstances, really defines on who you are and how you can, you know, how you are in life.
Right. And it also is based on your programming. It's
Mm.
based on how you were raised. It's based on how resilient you are. You were resilient enough not to do what they did, then you've got a whole different process that you're going to go through. Or you could become your parents, you know,
No.
right? No, I know. That's what I say. So yeah. So but there's so many options. That's what I mean. It's like we're all different. We all pick, and every time we choose, make a choice, because that's what we have as human beings. We can keep that. That's ours. No one can take our choices away from us. We can make a not so great choice. We can make a good choice. We can make a not so great choice and then shift later on into a good choice. You know what I mean? So it's all part of the process. It's not like anything specific. That's what I've come to understand about all this stuff. The other, okay, so there are a couple of things I wanted to share here, and something that came up like right before the meeting, and I'm going to get through this as quickly as possible. Then we can have a couple of questions and just see what goes on with the questions. But I had some people ask some questions that I thought was in the group that I thought were interesting. One of the questions was about healing and releasing past trauma, and I kind of went over that. There's so many different ways to do it, and as we kind of came to the understanding that it's different for everybody, and you have to find your way. It's not like I am the guru and I did it this way and this is the way you've got to do it and it's the only way to do it. No, my feeling is I am you, you are me, we are one. I am not your guru, you are your own guru. And you get to pick your way to figure out and research or do whatever, however you do it. I'm the researcher, and do whatever you do to step your way through your life and figure those things out. So you've got, I shared the piece about how the trauma healing works, but remember that it's your life, and for us to be able to stop, I mean, sovereignty is huge. Sovereignty is who we are as human beings. It's not, we don't come into this life to be like everybody else. We're here for something different, and for us to be able to step into that, now I understand better from my own, walking through this stuff, is the biggest thing that you could ever do. But it's all your journey. I can dangle some things in front of you that worked for me, and I can share things. I have no expectations that you do it or don't do it. But what I do love to be able to create is the safe space for you to do that in. And that's where I feel that this group is like, or this group, or however this ends up working out, because I'm actually, I'm looking for platforms that are a little more conducive to an actual community where it doesn't happen as well within this space. So, and I'm not going to say it out. You all know where you are. I don't need to talk about it. But I want it to be where everybody who wants to be there can participate rather than being siphoned out because of algorithms. So whatever that looks like, that's the direction I'm going in regarding that. I already explained to you about my Uber journey, so that also goes along with this awakening piece. We're here to break through the humanness of ourselves, to awaken ourselves, our human selves, to soul divinity. Empaths are here. Highly sensitive people are here, I believe, for two reasons. One, we're either highly sensitive or empathic because we've been traumatized, or we're highly sensitive and empathic because that's a trait. We came in that way, and we don't know who's who. So it's hard to tell. I hear a question coming. Dora, were you going to?
Yeah, got a little bit different take on that. I I guess my question would be, do you believe in reincarnation?
It's up to you. I mean,
Mm.
I do. I believe
Yeah.
that we can come back and do it, but
Yeah.
not everybody does, and that's okay too.
Yeah, I think I think it depends on each individual
Yeah.
and if they have that option to do that.
Yeah, of course, 100%. And we've got people in this group from all types of different locations in the world, different religions, different spiritualities, and the soul is not specific, from my understanding, to any particular religion, because religion, to me, from the way I've learned it throughout my life, is kind of what's the word, like this old time everything that's come from the past has come to kind of control people, basically, from what I see and from what I've experienced. And I don't think our sovereignty is not about being controlled. Our sovereignty is not about being traumatized. Our sovereignty isn't about all that stuff. So it's kind of hard to talk about this because I'm still getting used to it. But yeah, so just having that option to choose what direction we want to go in. And if we believe in reincarnation, fine. If we don't, there's other avenues to take if you don't believe in reincarnation. Just being a good human, a decent human, and being kind. If you're an atheist, just be kind. You know, you don't have to believe in anything if you choose not to, but you can be kind.
Okay, I see
Right?
Deborah's head going.
Yeah, when my experience, when I have no judgment on it, just an experience. Like if I'm an atheist, and then what does that mean to someone? And then if I believe there's nothing there, then I have to believe that there's something there to believe opposite of that.
Mhm.
And I have no connection personally to that. To me, another word is religion. Religion to me is the doing. You
Yeah.
know, the outward doing. No judgment on any culture that does outward worship or something that way. So, having come from no religion, spirituality growing up, spending 8 years in something that was a safe space for me, I can look at it that way. But then when I opened my eyes, I was like, wow, this is very restrictive, legalistic, and judgmental. So I got to a space where I could let that go without the judgment on my behalf from coming from me, you know, in a go with God kind of space, you know. And that's just my personal thoughts on spirituality.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I watch another podcast that talks about a whole bunch of things, and this guy interviews people who've had near-death experiences, and he talks about people who are atheists who, okay, so this one guy, I love this one he talks about. He says this one guy he had a near-death experience, and he went and did, everybody has similar near-death experiences, and he goes into this space that they talk about, and he said, and I saw Jesus. And then he says, and he was in a suit, like a full piece suit. And he's like, he looks at him and he says, why are you in a suit? And Jesus says, because you're a businessman, you would understand me better in a suit. So I thought that was quite appropriate. And that's that's a near-death experience. I've never had one. I don't know. So, but I thought that was really good explanation on how people see things, the truth, when that kind of thing happens. So I think that's important to take a look at and just be open-minded. I mean, I don't see any other way to live this life than to be open-minded. And yeah, the spiritual protection as a highly sensitive person, an empath, I actually did a video already on how to do that, but I just wanted to share a couple of things. Not 100% sure. They said, how do you handle the energy? I think that's important for us to recognize. That was a good segue from one thing to another, and they had nothing to do with each other. Okay, so with protecting our energy, there's so many things that we need to do with that, because one of the most important things I think we need to do with that is to step away from people, but not to the point where we're so isolated that we like don't have relationship with people. I do recognize also that as an empath and highly sensitive person, with 26 out of 27 traits, yay me. I'm sure a couple of you have heard me say that. I tended to isolate myself. I isolated myself from people who were caring, and because I thought they weren't, because of my own trauma. And that didn't help me either. So I've noticed a lot of highly sensitives and empaths tend to back away from people because of that fear. There's a fear they're connected possibly with a trauma, more than likely with a trauma. But for you to be able to do certain things like step away from things and use a white light, or use a door, a see-through screen door or something, glass screen door, and just put that protection around you, put the white light of protection. Deborah, I know you've got a couple of things that you talked about before. I have a hair in my mouth. That's why I'm.
Well, you find the hair.
Uh-huh.
I use different things.
It
The
is.
the personal space that I shared with the two of the three of you in that one, that's quite uniform. And you can open it and close it as you make your little cocoon. A couple other things as it calls to you. You don't call to it, but a charged pie stone. It circles a crystal stone with a hole in it, and put it on a nice long cord, and you wear it above, over, or under your clothing. And if it hits when you sit right on your tummy or above, right at your sacral, then it's a good protection. Or sit like, if I was, let me see, like this, especially when you're with people where the energy is kind of weird. I'm not doing that right now because I feel that from you guys, but I'm sitting in my cool new chair and I'm comfy, and I have mom tummy, but at 70, I can have as much tummy as I want. But yeah, just something like that. And because you might not have girded something and you're out and you encounter someone, whether you've spoken to them or they've spoken to you, would you get that feeling? The hair in the back of your neck, the tickle in your tummy, as my kids used to say, my tummy tickles. And you just while you're talking to them or around them, just put your hands in a folded position across your abdomen. Who cares what it looks like? It looks fine. And they are not going to notice and then that kind of, and breathe through it. You have to breathe through it, because there's several ways, and Caroline taught me by her bringing this when she came to visit a couple years ago. I personally am a totally wide open in human design projector. So I am screaming wide open, absorbing everything. But then again, I use my power this way. It's like also my aura slams into anybody. So I can protect my wide openness by putting my hands over my abdomen, wearing a pie stone, doing we'll call it the cocoon. Carrie, hi Carrie, nice to meet you.
Sorry. Sorry.
Did I come on that late? What did I miss? But
a little bit, but that's okay.
So that sort of thing, if that supports,
Yes.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear
Yes.
you now.
Okay.
Real quick, let me say thank you, Deborah. I appreciate you sharing that. That was good. I like
Thank
that.
you.
So Kari, go ahead.
As you all were talking, I got this vision, and I don't even know what a real chastity belt looks like, but I was envisioning a chastity belt imbued with all these healing crystals. And you could either actually fashion a real one, or you could imagine that you were protected by one. and yeah, that kind of speaks to my own trauma from way many years ago. A chastity belt. I think that we should put them on all our daughters and granddaughters. But
yeah.
yeah,
I can see that. I could see, but yeah.
but it just it just kind of flashed that I was like, wow, okay, you could just imagine that you were protected by that. You wouldn't actually have to go through
Yeah.
physical discomfort of wearing one, but yeah.
It's interesting to note that the original reason for wearing a chastity belt was more patriarchy
Yeah.
led
Of
at that
course.
point. Now it's more like protect from the patriarchy. They ain't going nowhere near there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to
So
kind of
yeah,
throw that out there, I thought it was kind of cute.
gird the loins, gird theirs, gird yours, gird his, gird, and that's the respect. That's respecting the temple. That's where that goes. But yeah,
Laura, did you have something you wanted to add to this little
No, I
conversation?
think that's
You're just
great.
enjoying it and letting the cat enjoy it too. Yeah.
I know, yeah.
Yeah. And there he goes. Okay.
He's a clinger.
He's a clinger.
they're cool.
So there
Yeah.
was one more thing before we run out of time that I wanted to share in this conversation too, or bring up. And it's something that I've been thinking about for a long time. And I was curious to hear what you guys had to say about it. Where, you think about Oprah Winfrey, for example, famous woman, and she was raped as a child, and she had her grandmother to help raise her, right? And apparently her grandmother did very well because look what Oprah's doing. Okay. So the thing that kind of like I've been working through as I've been working through my own stuff, I've been recognizing, I don't remember ever having someone. I needed a different type of nurturing. The curiosity for me, is there a correlation between being a highly sensitive person, empath, having been traumatized, childhood trauma or something like that, or complex PTSD, which is kind of a bunch of different things that have been stacked over the years, not being supported or had a support system, not feeling nurtured, or had someone as a space of comfort to hold your space. Is that related to what happens later in life with you and not feeling like you're supported later in life? So you just kind of like, for me, you watched me, Deborah, I kind of floated along trying to figure things out, and I was doing it. I felt like I needed to do it on my own because I felt like I was alone and I felt like I was by myself. So to me, it feels like there's a correlation between not having a mentor growing up as a child throughout your life and how your life turns out, versus having somebody there to support you and to be there for you and to guide you. What do you guys think about that?
Go ahead, Dora. I have lots to say. You got something. You got something trying to come out. I see you.
I see churning all over the place. Come on.
I hear the hamsters.
Eat your truth. It's okay.
Yeah. Free space.
That's kind of a deep one. I think, I don't know. I mean, of course, myself personally, my parents were in that same space. My biological father wasn't in my life until I was a teenager. The man that raised me was an alcoholic. So yeah, I didn't have the best of upbringing. My mom was really not sure of how or what. And of course, it was always stuffed, you're crazy, don't do this, don't do that. But deep down, for me, I always knew there was something different. So I guess I've always held on to that, even with all the trauma going through up to my adulthood now. So knowing that, I knew eventually I would get where I'm at now. So I think that's probably what saved me. And then I look back now and I say, with my mom, my dad, my biological father, members of my families, those are all lessons. Obviously, I was taught a lot of lessons. So I've been able to use those lessons to move forward on my journey. I think that's probably just for me personally. Yeah.
I'm glad you answered it that way, because that kind of fills in the gaps with the original conversation we had a little while ago, where you're like, we're all different. We all respond. We all have a different constitution, whether it's mental, emotional, physical, or spiritual. So again, you chose that route because that made sense for you. I chose the route to self-sabotage myself, because if you're not going to help me, then I'm not going to do it. that I'm just going to be miserable and you're going to pay for that, you know, that sort of thing. That was my choice, but you chose the way that was helpful for you and got you on a different, you know.
Oh, I was very destructive. Don't get me wrong. I mean,
Okay.
I'm an ex-addict as well. So just
Okay.
putting that out there. I used for over 20 years of my life to
Wow.
um,
Thank you for
cover all
sharing.
the hurt and the pain that I endured. You know, I mean, there's a lot of different things throughout my life that had occurred, you know. Yeah. So I used to hide that pain.
Mhm.
So once I got clean, then I was able to see a little bit more, a little bit more. Still went through some rough times, but now it's like I see the whole picture, where
Mhm.
before I wasn't seeing only a portion of it.
And
You
that's
know,
part of your healing your nervous system. And
absolutely.
especially like I live in an area where there are probably the most amount of addiction places or that help people in Florida. So there's a lot of people down here like that. There's a lot of people out there who have gone through similar, you know, circumstances like you have. And I thank you for sharing that because it gives somebody hope, inspiration, you know, to know that there's, you know, just dig in for that spark inside of you, like you were kind of alluding to, or you were alluding to, or were saying, you know, and find that spark and then allow it to start growing. And if you're having trouble, there it is. Look for support system, look for people who are willing to help you, you know. But if you've got that, you've got kahunas, my friend. I'm telling you what, you are the most incredibly strong person. I've heard your stories, I've heard some of
Mm.
them, and I know how strong you are. And it's like I sit here going, oh my God, you know, I mean, I went through some crap, but then when I hear yours, I'm like, oh.
Well,
So
everybody's got a different story. Everybody's got a different, you know, path that they've been on so far in their life. And
a hundred
so,
percent. But
you know,
I'm just giving you kudos here
thank
because
you. I
I've
appreciate
watched
that.
you even in the last 3 months that we've been together, working together. I've watched you like, oh my God, who is this person? But you have that. You've got that, you know. But that's what I'm trying to say. Even I have that strength, but I couldn't find it. You found it right sooner. You were able to work with it. I didn't trust it, you know. So there's a difference right there. And there's a difference, like if you happen to be more similar to me, then you may be going through similar things that I did. If you're more similar to Dora, then you're like, ah, you know, look, keep going and going and going and going. Yeah, that's just how it works for you. And that's okay. It's all okay, however you do it. Thank you, Dora. I appreciate that share. That was
Yeah,
really
thank you.
cool. Yeah. Um, Kari, do you want to go ahead and share next, or in relation to what I was talking about with the correlation between the being an HSP, an empath who was never mentored versus someone who, you know, who's been traumatized, who was never mentored versus someone who has or nurtured.
Yeah, I come from, okay, not to uh actually say what the traumas were that I've been
Sure, you
through.
don't have to.
I'm an Army veteran like you, but only 7 years. I wish I'd stayed in till retirement. It would have helped a lot. And I've also had 18 months of homelessness. So just recently.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, but my life has been blessed in so many ways. And I had absolutely stellar parents. And they were very conservative. They were very, I'm Protestant Lutheran upbringing. Um, but I had a grandmother who was right from Norway, my dad's mom, my paternal grandmother, who singled me out of us 6 kids and said, she's the one. And she really made my mother very nervous because she picked me to be with, to share things with. My grandmother, her name was Anne Torkelson, Anne Bergsmark Torkelson. She was from Oslo, Norway, came to this country when she was 3. But she would tell the most wonderful stories. She considered herself a Holder maiden, which is a female troll, kind of like a witch, a Norwegian witch. And when she married my grandfather, who after their marriage became a Lutheran minister himself, her tail fell off or whatever is what she told us. But she said that she told me from a very young age that I was different, that she saw something in me when I was born that was different from my siblings. I'm in the middle of 6 kids. She told me lots of really wild, radical things that when I tried to share them with my parents, my mother particularly was like, Leif, she was like, she would say to my dad, Leif, don't let her go with your mother anymore. But I'm so glad. And I lost Gaga. I called her Gaga when I was 21, right after the birth of my first child. And I'm so glad that I had her mentoring, which I didn't realize was mentoring. I'm not realizing it until now in my life. And I'll tell you another thing, I have tried women's groups before. My cousin 14 years ago tried to get me into a Christian women's ministry. When I started telling them that I felt that I had had other lives before, they immediately told me I was under demonic possession. And I've never found a safe place to really explore what I am, put it under the authority of God, because I'm very comfortable doing that, but also be wary of, because there are all kinds of demonic influences out there. And so my whole life, I've had good jobs, I've had bad jobs. I've met wonderful people, I've met horrible creatures that don't even measure up to humanity. Well, they do, to despicable humanity. And I feel like I'm on the brink of what I'm really supposed to be doing. And I'm going to turn 59 here in a couple weeks, 2 weeks from now. And it's also baffling because I don't know what is right. I'm constantly trying to keep everything under the guise of what's right, what's kosher. And yet I feel like I've got so much in me that has never really been addressed in a safe place.
Can I ask
And
you a
then
question real quick?
Yeah.
What is your reasoning behind doing what's right and what is kosher? Because I'm curious.
Okay, the other women's group that I've been invited to is a coven of witches. That was about 10 years ago. So I've gone the full spectrum of, the holier than thou Christian women out there, and then the very self-serving.
You're definitely on that journey. I see it.
Yeah. So but I believe, my personal beliefs, I think right now I've defined them as God to me is the Judeo-Christian God, and he created all of us with unique gifts. I believe we've boxed him into something that is, all the religions have boxed him into a humanly recognizable thing, and he's so much more than that. And I feel like I am a big part of that. But I want to know, I know that I can still be, I believe that there's a God, and I believe there's Satan and Lucifer and the devil, who's the adversary. But, oh, and I've never shared this with anybody. Very briefly, when I was in the Army, my first duty station was Hawaii. And it's a 3-year duty station. I was cleaning up. I had my boys, they were 8 and 4 when we moved to Hawaii. And I was going through a divorce, but I was cleaning up upstairs and I was singing a song. And I had the melody, I'd never heard it before. And I realized I was singing words that were not English. And then I was like, and I immediately stopped and I was like, Father God, what is the meaning of this? The words had to do with Satan being pardoned eventually and brought back into the fold, and that everything would come back to a beautiful being. And I was like, it was so contrary to my Lutheran upbringing. And I was like, well, so I just shelved that. It's back in my head somewhere, I visit it every now and then, and I'm like, okay, but I don't know. And yet I feel like I'm drawn to this redemption of everything, even Lucifer. I don't know if that.
From a different, if I may, from a different perspective, from what I'm learning, and I've been researching this kind of stuff, and don't quote me on any of this because it's my own learning experience. It feels like what's going on now on the planet, in the universe, in the multiverse, whatever you want to call it, is what you're talking about. You're just coming from the perspective of your the belief system or the beliefs that
Right.
you have, right? But the thing is that
Right.
we are all one. You are uncovering the truth of who you are. There is no right, wrong, or whatever. That whatever journey that you choose to take to discover who you are, or uncover, I like uncover better, uncover who you are, is the correct one. So whatever anybody says out here, you know, that's the sovereignty. That's your sovereignty. And God, you know, there are spaces out there where God is judgy and cruel, and he's going to punish you and all this stuff. Well, how can you have that and also have a God that's loving? You know, I mean, it's very confusing to our understanding. So for you, I just see someone who just let it be, just allow whatever's coming up for you to just kind of, you know, surface and create your spaces and create your understandings, and don't worry about what anybody. And if you want to jump into covens, if you want to jump into covens, if you want to jump, whatever you want to do, just do it until you recognize what doesn't fit with you, what doesn't resonate. That's the simplest way to do that. Question everything, but question everything out here. Sometimes mostly question yourself unless you hear your soul talking to you. And do your best, I would say, from my own personal experience, not to question your soul. That one's a tricky one. But yeah, I mean, that sounds like an incredible journey that you're on. I mean, that's exciting to me. I've always thought there at times I've thought maybe there was something in the witch realm for me as well, but it probably would have been a green witch or something. I don't know. Deborah's definitely a green witch if she was ever a witch. But yeah, but that's really, I think that's what hit me when you were talking. I'm like, let all that, how do I say this? I'm gonna say it. No political covering up. Let that shit go. I mean, those are belief systems that have been programmed into you, and if that's the case, then if you don't believe that belief system, we're here to grow as who we are, not someone else's impression of who we should be.
Okay.
Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, to let the restrictions grow so that, or let the restrictions go so that I can grow fully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the restrictions are all man-made.
Right.
We're not restricted. We're big. We're huge. We're big. You know, we crush ourselves into this box. My daughter, when she was 13 years old, said to me once, I think I was 43, we're at lunch, and she says she had some kind of an AP class that she was taking, and she had to go to this after school thing with the teacher, and the teacher says, well, sometimes you got to think outside the box. And my daughter said, how do you think outside the box if you're not even in the box to begin with? That changed my life. I'm like, well, no wonder I couldn't fit in that little thing. I'm all the way out here and nobody can see me. You know what I mean? So that's who we are. That's our truth. We are bigger than we think we are because of what other people say to us. We crush ourselves down. And it's time. It's time that you allow yourself, your sovereign self, to start coming out and participating the way you choose. You know whether it's right or wrong. You already have that in you, or you wouldn't be an empath.
Yeah, bro.
Okay.
I know. Can you see the smoke coming out of my ear?
I
know,
do.
Are you good, Kari? Kari, are you good?
I'm good. I'm
Oh.
good.
Okay. All right, Deborah.
Oh, you guys.
Can you do this in like 10 minutes? Because
Oh, I think so. You are in the perfect, we are all in this perfect space in this perfect moment. There is only this moment and there's everything else. So, Dora, I want to acknowledge you. I often say it this way, this innocent face has gotten me away with a lot of things I should not have survived. And I wouldn't be here in this powerful, healthy 70-year-old body if I hadn't had my dark nights of the soul and my dark alleys that I have virtually, figuratively crawled through, and yeah, chills, baby girl. Kari, for me, I can only speak for myself. Beliefs yes, you have your beliefs, you have your understandings and your perceptions, and those are who you are. And then again, to say the word differently, belief systems, self-limiting beliefs, to use it that way. Have you ever heard that expression, the self-limiting belief? And
Yes.
those are beliefs that we pick up and put on our keep yourself safe, or, get your ass out of trouble, or whatever basket that we've chosen consciously or not throughout our life. And their survival context. I needed to have that in a survival way if we do trauma work or inner child work. And I've learned a new perspective on that yesterday. I don't know if we'll have time, but those are the things that can support you, and only you can. Any one of us, me, you, her, you who are, can let go of. And to correlate that with what Dora had said, any path we have walked along our path that we walk in this journey of life, we'll trip over a rock, or we'll fall flat on our face over that rock and get hurt or hurt others or what have you. Every single one of those is a gift from God, a gift from the universe. And there is a lesson for that. And when we're in the midst of it, that's not always easy to see, but we can look at how powerful we are, being able to gather the four of us right now, right here in this time. And all of us are over the age of at least 50, right? And or more. Well, I'm always the old lady in the room, but what's that look like? I don't know. What's it feel like? Caroline knows this. My granddaughters who live here near me tell me, Grandma, you have Elsa hair. So dang, yes, Grandma rocks Elsa hair. And her eyebrows are too. So if I don't color them, I don't have any, but they're there. There's a way. But anyway, so truly, and what's been speaking to me in the coaching sessions I've had with upcoming new clients, and that I am a health coach, community. It's like screaming at me. My personal word for 2024 is bridge. I am bridge. I'm a bridge for healing between my two sons. I am a boy mom. One's currently a warrant officer 3 in the United States Navy and will be retiring at the age of 45 next year. And my oldest is, let's just say, he's a shaman. And I am honored that they chose me, just me, Debbie, at 21 and 26 to be their mommies. And now they're in their mid and late 40s. So the bridge that we've chosen as consciously as this 2 generations in our family to break generational traumas and to let them, they're there. You can't fix them. They don't go away. That stuff's still going to trigger you. That'll sneak in your head and you'll be like, why am I thinking this today? Why did I do that? Because, and it's okay. We can stand up, put our big girl pants back on, dust ourselves off, and keep going. And when we share in our vulnerability, we inspire others, especially other women. I know this will probably be posted in the group, and everyone, male, female, men, women can see this. Kari, if after this call, if I may reach out to you, I would ask permission to reach out to you. I belong to a couple of very amazing women's groups that have nothing to do with judgment and are only open hearts and loving. And Dora as well, if you like. Caroline knows about them. They don't speak to her at this time in her life. And to speak them out, there's the red tent. And for those that are done menopause, but you're not unwelcome in the red tent, there's the purple tent. And that comes from ancient history when we women would gather, we've birthed children, for those of us who have. And I'm pregnant now, or I've started my cycle and I don't know how, what. And we would gather and be supportive. I've had a bunch of kids, so I can help you with your first because I've experienced that. And that's just how we got to be that way. And we women, as nothing patriarchal judgment. Yes, that's part of our history, but we women are very powerful, and those patriarchal rules and religion got tightened up by it like a noose, because that is how those in power, if you will, or we allow them to be in power. It's what happened to control the rest of us. And I have no man bash or any religion bash in my heart. In our personal home, that's the back of my dining room, one of my walls here. Our personal mantra here at our home is all are welcome at the table. And that's how I live my life and how I am supportive. So, and to speak quick, if I can, into having had a mentor growing up. No, I had a sickly mom who was as sweet as pie, but just didn't have those gifts. I don't recall giving birth and coming out of anesthesia, being handed a book on how to do that. So we all just kind of did what we did, but we can all be that soft place to fall for one another. And
Male or female,
yeah, yes, absolutely.
or whatever gender.
Yeah.
I want to go with other genders too, but male.
Oh,
whatever
okay.
whatever you
I don't
choose.
speak that language.
I don't either,
understand
but
it.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah,
Just
sure. Whatever's
just
in
in
there,
case. Yeah.
it's all about love. It's
Mhm.
not kumbaya, but it is truly love. And to love another person. Sometimes we had that perfect parent and they gooshed all over us and were protective and cuddly and stuff, but then we didn't learn how to fall down and skin our own knee and put a Band-Aid on it. So we've come from that side. So there is no imperfection, as we are all perfect in our imperfections.
Thank you,
And
Deborah. Yeah, that was
with that,
really
I am complete. Thank you.
yeah, I mean that's exactly what I feel like that's exactly what being human in this space, in this time, in this space is. We're all different, and you should recognize this one, Kari. We all bleed red. You cut anybody open, doesn't matter who they are. That's what they say in the military. We all bleed red.
Yep.
So whatever that means to you, that's the space. That's this space in the Facebook group that we have for old souls, highly sensitives, and empaths, that however this works out, I don't know. I'm just being guided. And whatever that means to you as who you are. And there's nothing here intended for offense. So if there's an offense taken, it is not intended that way. That may be something that needs to get healed if there's something there, and that's okay too. Thank you all for sharing your hearts. I mean, that's been a big deal for me, because I was like, I'm the only one. I haven't been mentored. I have this life that's been frustrating, and it's not true. And everybody's different, and we treat our journeys differently. And if you're at the beginning, I'm going to talk to the group now real quick. If you're at the beginning of your journey and you're just learning, baby steps, be gentle with yourself. Look at something that looks interesting to you, feel it out, see if it resonates. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If it does, follow it. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is from my perspective, in my journey. I would follow something until I was either done with it, I couldn't deal with it, or I fell off of it for some reason. Whatever that is, but you're still going to learn and you're still going to grow. And just because it doesn't resonate with you doesn't mean that you have to be resistant to it. And that's the kicker. Like Deborah mentioned, the groups that she belongs to, the red tent and the purple tent, at the time when I found out about them, it didn't resonate with me because of my own trauma with my mother wound, I guess, so to speak. And I felt very uncomfortable around women. And I'm like, I'm sitting here in the back, you're not reading my mind right now. Like, well, what am I doing here? There's women, there's all women here. No men showed up. Almost one man, but no. And I'm like, but it's safe. And it's loving. and they love me and I love them. And then my little girl gets all excited because she's like, oh my God. So it's different now. But when initially, when Deborah, when she said, I was like, yeah, I didn't want that. No, that's not happening. Not me, so just know that we are here. The group is here. However, the algorithms in Facebook allow you to see what's going on, are here for support, for love, to help each other, to hold that space. That's it. It's just a safe, healing, loving space for you. Look, we've got
Aw.
puppies now. Puppy love, puppy love. See, that's what I wanted. That's the group, the epitome of the group.
That's it. And any women who will see this in our group, if one wants to learn more about the red 10 or the purple 10, truly, honestly, extremely loving puppy pal, kitty cat pal, whatever, we just had an event to do it Zoom, so it doesn't matter where you are. And we just had an event Tuesday, and there was something planned, and it ended up being an open share, and the microphone, if you will, was passed around in person and online, and it was total vulnerability, and it was so inspirational. And I too, I come from places where you pipe up about something, like you said, Kari, and they're gonna look at you like you have 6 heads, or they're gonna go, yeah, that's nice. Don't invite her again. So that's certainly not this group, and it's certainly not the 2 groups that I have spoken of.
So thanks for sharing that, Deborah. And this group isn't about self-containment either. It's about sharing and connecting and networking and whatever. So it's okay. And then before we sign off, the one thing I want to make sure that everyone knows is that we have a lot of men in this group. And part of my healing journey was based around military sexual trauma. And to me, men were always scary. And the men that I've met within the group, within my healing process and everything, I'm finding safe men. So I don't want to exclude the men, because they have a balance of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And it's important that they're here, because as far as Native American culture, which is something I've researched before, it's like you need the man to physically protect the woman, and the woman emotionally protects the man. And it's like a symbiotic relationship. So it's important that we have these men here who can grow and heal and shift from this, again, patriarchy society, and what, especially in our generation, what they've experienced. I don't know, what everybody has gone through, and let me finish my thought. And the younger generations are probably going to be a bit different, but in general, we all have masculine and feminine parts in ourselves. So that's why there's a balance that we get to find within that space. Dora, I think I've completed my thought. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just looking at Deborah's comment. That's so true. I was thinking that was my very same thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, what I was going to say, let that be a secret. And that way I can sound so knowledgeable.
But you are knowledgeable.
Okay. I know I am. Anyway. All right. Is there any last minute little thing anybody wants to share before we kind of sign off from this conversation with Caroline? I really like this. It actually turned into a conversation. Anybody
That's
else?
awesome. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very grateful.
And it
Thank
gives you
you
a chance to speak your truth, and the space. I want to be able to allow people, as long as we create a space where people can share their truth and want to understand more, and be connective and just have a conversation. I mean, that's so important, because we're not talking anymore. We're yelling at each other on typing.
Yeah.
It's like, what is this? If you can't see someone's eyes, would you really? I read this sometime years ago on Facebook. If you can't see someone's eyes, would you really say some of the same things that you are saying to people without seeing their face? It's so hurtful out there. And I feel like we're here to shift that with our healing work on ourselves.
Can I tell you all another? Okay, this happened to me back in 2012. I was sitting on my parents' roof. They had a big 3-story colonial. But I was sitting on the roof in a rainstorm, a thunder and lightning storm. It was the anniversary of my dad's death. And I got a message. And again, something I've not really shared with anybody, but it was very short. And I had no idea what language it was, how it was spelled, but it's Yukte Anhi Washta Halo.
That's
And
Native.
when I looked it up and
Yeah.
researched it, it's like a combination of Hebrew, Sanskrit, and Lakota Sioux.
So that's what I picked up was Lakota.
And it loosely translates into all is chaos, but he will make beautiful. And I'm not sure about the masculine or feminine, but to me it came through as he will make beautiful. It could have been they will make beautiful, but I have kept that, and just with the knowledge that someday I would meet someone who might help me to project that out. And I mean, it's such a simple thing, and yet it's so profound. All is chaos, and it could be us ourselves individually, or the whole world, or whatever. But yeah, I've never had anything like that happen. And when I've tried to share it with my family, they're like, oh well, that was one of your demon possession times. But yeah, Yukte Ani Washta Halo. Anyway, yeah.
All is
Oh,
chaos.
wow.
All is
That's
chaos.
profound. And the definition is that it was spoken to you. Yeah, channeling is unique. Caroline's experienced an experience. Well, we just know. And she's in that moment, she says to me, you need to exercise that a whole lot more. So I'm having opportunity newly to design and divine that for myself. Yeah, there can be fear. We all have fear in our space. We all have fear from different reasons. And this space and the spaces I hang out in are fearless, courageous and fearless. So it's like, I don't know how to talk to people or open up. And it's beautiful because you get to, not have to, but you get to, because
people get
your
People get
words matter.
Yeah, 100%.
And your world gets to hear the collective voice.
Yeah. And people, what's this? I do a writing group. I may start something with it online. I haven't decided yet, but we heal when we feel heard.
Yes.
And I think that's like one of the most important things. Now, can you one more time tell me out of the chaos, say it again?
The whole phrase?
Yeah.
So Yukte was Yukte, Anhi, and I saw that. I actually saw it written out. ANHI, and then Washta, WASHTE, and then Hey, HE, and then the last word was Lo, LO. And I immediately recognized some Lakota in there. So I looked that up first, but all the words didn't match. And then I was led to look up Hebrew and then old Sanskrit. and I was praying the whole time, and I was like, God, this is way out of my league. I don't even have a college degree, and it was like, well, this is what each word means. And it's like,
go over the English version of it.
All is chaos, but he is making beautiful.
Well, I mean, it kind of describes where we're at right now, so in the world. So I think that's all part of it. So you might be part of that journey to help people see that.
Little old me
little old you, get ready, get set, here you go.
I like to say in these moments, keep your open mind and keep your arms and legs in the car at all times.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And the other piece of this, just like what it's like, the path that you go down is yes, not why are you picking me? I don't want to do this, because when you resist, when I resist, it blocks all the good I can put out in the world. Okay. Just a thought. So let me go ahead and close this out because I mean, that was good. I'm glad you shared that because I think that's important for
Yes,
people
thank
to know
you.
that even though we do have chaos going on, things are shifting, things are changing within ourselves, within the world. Even if we can't see it, systems may be breaking, but there are groups of people who are rebuilding or reshaping. We don't know this yet because until something actually breaks down, it cannot be rebuilt. So we may have to deal with a little bit of chaos but that's where we come into ourselves and do our prayers or do our meditating or do whatever and stay centered so it doesn't affect us the way the fear-based mentality, because we're going to have fear. We're in this world, in the pee pool. That's another story. We were born into the pee pool and now we got to figure out how to get out of the pee pool. Okay.
People.
So anyway, so just as a last thing, I want you to know there's lots of deep breathing, lots of energy release if you get fearful or angry or whatever, and just let go and let God or let source or let creator or let higher power or whatever you call it, or you are part of that. So let you, however you look at it. So
Yeah,
thank you.
and don't be afraid to reach out to us admins and mediators, because if I've always said if I don't know, I'll hold your hand and
Yeah.
we'll figure it out together.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. And this will be posted on my YouTube channel and shared in the group because I can't post an hour and a half video on Facebook. It takes too long to upload it.
Oh, yeah, I guess not. Yeah.
So thank you. And you guys all have a wonderful afternoon. And I think that's about it. Take care. Bye.